people, may I have your attention, please? We're about to get this thing underway. And if you doubt these people's dedication and bravery, they're speaking from a rolling podium on the top of this stairway. So the first brave soul to come up, won't you welcome a mover and shaker? This very town involving many, many things all the time. Super sweet, please welcome Miss Suzanne Werner.
Look around you, folks. America's women are calling us. America's children are calling us. America's forests and rivers are calling us. They are calling us to justice, to compassion, to reason, to freedom and responsibility. They are calling us to make ourselves whole, to comfort the destitute, to save our planet, to save our children. American women are calling for our country to stand for those values that help us flourish, that help us accomplish our noblest intentions and give new life to our democracy. We stand here to bear witness to the dreams of American women. We stand here because our hearts and our consciences can do no other. We are of many religions and many life stances, but we are united in heart and mind, in reason and compassion to the best America can be. We are called to leave the sidelines and to make a real difference, as women always have. We stand ready to answer the call with our deepest moral commitments. Look around, folks. We stand ready.
Wonderful guest speakers to you today. How many of you believe that now is the time for women to lead? How many of you believe that the future is female? Y'all, in 2016, I felt such pride that this country had its first major female candidate for president. A heavy favorite. One with a list of credentials as impressive as anyone. A Yale-educated lawyer, a first lady, a senator, a secretary of state, whip smart, someone who had boasted a lifetime of public service. And then, on November 8th, 2016, our life changed. Or had it? The flagrant misogyny, racism, bigotry, and xenophobia that flowed after that day, I think, took many of us by surprise. I'm not sure we knew it was there. And on that day, I heard a loud call to action. I personally decided that I would do whatever was in my power to serve a life of public service. For many of you, your call may have been different, but you've heard the call or you probably wouldn't be here. However you got here. Perhaps it was the fact that teacher pay in North Carolina has been eclipsed by inflation, blowing a hole in every public school teacher's budget.
My name's Jenna Fontaine. I live in South.
Perhaps it was the Parkland shooting, and still no gun reform. Perhaps it was the discovery of Gen X in our water and corporations who still refuse to take responsibility for contaminating our water and our air. Perhaps it was racial profiling in police departments that, I'm sorry, still exists. Perhaps it's the income gap in this country that has grown 15-fold within the last several years. Perhaps it's because women's reproductive health is in jeopardy. Or perhaps it was the bravery of a 16-year-old climate change warrior named Greta Thunberg, who has been bullied by our president. So I'm not sure which of those things was your clarion call. There's no shortage of those to choose from. But however you got here, you're here now. And we have got a lot of work to do. So my short message is, let's get started. And with that, I am pleased to introduce to you our first speaker today. Now, this person is taking on a huge challenge. North Carolina is a big state, but she can handle it. She is a North Carolina senator. She is an engineer. I think you have like 16 degrees. You're going to have to tell them what they all are. Please welcome to the stage Senator Erica Smith, running for the United States Senate.
Good afternoon to the women and advocate men at the Wilmington Women Organizing Women's March. I see my colleagues out there. Senator Harper Peterson, raise your hand in the back. Senator Terry Van Dyne, Representative Yvonne Hawley, and badass Representative Deb Butler. Deb and I had the distinction of sharing the 2018 Equal Rights Alliance, ERA Alliance for North Carolina. She was Representative of the Year, and I was Senator of the Year. And so it's been wonderful working with her. Deb declares that she will not yield. As an ordained woman of the cloth, when the folks who wanted to come into Northampton County and the 6 other counties that I serve in the North Carolina Senate as a 3-term senator, they wanted to come in and put a lined landfill for coal ash. We told them to take your ash somewhere else. You will find in the book of Luke, chapter 13, beginning at verse 10, there was a woman who had been afflicted for so many years. And then she saw Jesus in the synagogue. And so when she went up, Jesus called her to him and said, "Woman, thou art loose of your infirmity. You are healed." Well, all of the men in the sanctuary got very angry because they told her, "You have 6 days a week, go get healed on one of those days." And the woman said, "I cannot wait another day." When I learned of the occupant at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who thinks he's above the law, I realized I couldn't wait another day. When I represented Hale from North Carolina, where women on average only earn 80 cents on the dollar of a white male, and to work for pay parity in North Carolina, it will take us into 2060. I realize I can't wait another day. When we have not expanded Medicaid for 500,000 working adults in North Carolina who do not have access to health care, healthcare is a human right. I realize I cannot wait another day. As a professional in the education field, as a secondary math instructional specialist, when I realized Tom Tillis took took office in 2013 as Speaker of the House, and he rolled back and fired 5,000 teacher assistants across North Carolina, took away teacher tenure, took away master's pay. I realized I can't wait another day. I come to you recognizing that when we work with women, when women lead, we all win. North Carolina, we have an opportunity to send the third woman in 100 years of celebrating women serving in North Carolina. We have an opportunity to send the third woman to the U.S. Senate to hold this president accountable for his crimes against our country. No one is above the law. I challenge you to look at the candidates all across this state, because when we win with women, everyone wins. Thank you for allowing me to address you here today. There is much work to be done. If we want an America that we can believe in again, America that's respected again, America that we can trust in again, you can't even spell America without Erica. I am Erica for us, one of us for all of us.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Now, so I have always thought of myself as a badass, frankly, but now it's official. I don't know if y'all saw this, but the people from InStyle magazine asked me if I would be willing to be one of the 50 badass women of 2020. And I said, gosh, who else is on the list? They said, well, number one is Nancy Pelosi. I said, count me in. Count me in. So from one badass to another, it's my pleasure to introduce the co-founders of WOW, who are responsible for organizing this gathering, and so many others. And I want to tell you, if you have driven by that corner right there any time within the last 150 weeks, you have seen them on that corner protesting Monday in and Monday out for 150 weeks. Please welcome Lynn Shoemaker and Jessica Cannon to say a few words.
I'm Lynn Shoemaker, and I am a founder of WOW, Women Organizing for Wilmington, which is an eight-year-old grassroots organization of 6,200 plus progressive women and allies. The theme this year is important. Together, we win. That's why Jessica Cannon, founder of Suit Up, an underground political action group of 3,500 plus progressive women and allies, is standing here with me. Together, we win. Together, our two groups are 10,000 strong. Together with our allies, including groups speaking today, we are more than 50,000 strong. Together with our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends, and our families, we win. Today is a battle cry to action. If we are going to change the face of power, we're going to do it together. Progressive. It is every progressive woman and our allies, for every progressive woman and our allies. And for the next 9 months, we will bring all we have to the battlefield. And when we think that we have nothing left, we're going to dig deeper. We're going to dig into our souls and our pockets, and we are going to find inspiration, motivation, and one more penny to win. We're going to win together. A WOW call to action is a Suit Up call to action. And a suit-up call to action is a well call to action because it is together that we win.
Hello, Wilmington. You are gorgeous out there. My name's Jessica Cannon. I'm not making a speech. We got awesome speakers. I just have 3 quick requests. The first is let's put our hands together for Lynn and the WOW women who have done this every year for 3 years. Amazing. Second quick request. So close your eyes just for 5 seconds. I want you to close your eyes and picture in front of you a split screen. On one side of the screen, we've got Senator Burr of North Carolina. On the other side of the screen, we have Representative Deborah Butler's face. Okay, open your eyes. That, my friends, I believe is where we've been, and on the other hand, where we're going. I believe it with all my heart. So, we just need to do the work. Politics and progress in this country, it's 2 steps up and 1 step back. Right now, we are in the middle of a big fat 1 step back. But we can move forward. We need to donate, we need to vote, we need to march, we need to knock on doors, we need to work as volunteers. You all know what to do. We also need to make sure we have self-care. When we get exhausted, close your eyes. Think of that split screen. I'm telling you, it will rejuvenate you. So, repeat after me. I will help.
I will help.
One more time, I will help.
I will help.
Last time, I will help.
I will help.
Thank you, Wilmington. Let's do it.
Okay, now, I have no musical ability at all. But fortunately, we have those who do. So if I had one talent, I wish that I could sing, but I can't. But fortunately for me, we have a lady here, Sandra King. Sandra King learned to sing like so many in the church, and she's going to join us with a little song today to try to put us in the mood. Woo! Hello, everyone. I am so glad to be here with everyone. It is so great to see women standing up for the fight. And men too. I had 2 musicians to come, but they came a little too late to set up. So I'm going to do this song. It's an oldie song. It's a message song. And please join in with me. I'm going to try to do the best I can. People get ready. There's a train a-coming. You don't need no ticket to get aboard. All you need is faith to hear the diesels rumming. You don't need no ticket, you just praise the Lord. People get ready for that train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key that opened the doors and board them. There's hope for all among those loved the most. There is no room for the hopeless sinner who would hurt mankind just to save his own. Have pity on those whose chances grow thinner, for there's no hiding place against the kingdom's throne. So people get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no ticket, you just get aboard. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming.
You don't need no ticket. You just praise the Lord.
And that's what women do when things don't go the way you plan. You just plow right through it, right? Thank you, Sandra. Thank you very much. Fortunately, we have another talented singer I'd like to welcome. She likewise learned how to sing in the church. There's a common theme there, but you're in good company. You know, Whitney Houston did the same thing. Please welcome, if you will, Anna McCoy Wright to sing another tune for us.
As the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us raise our voices for a land that's free. Let us be so grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with them. My God bless America, my home, sweet
Thank you, Anna. Let me see if I can get this rearranged here. Now, folks, you did me a big favor in 2018. You did me a big favor in 2018. You probably don't even really put two and two together, but you doubled the Democratic delegation in the North Carolina House. Well, not technically, because you elected him to the position of senator, but nevertheless. My friend and colleague Harper Peterson and I talk often about intellectual integrity and how honoring the facts, even when they lead to a place you don't like sometimes, is what we've got to get back to. Harper is that. He chases the facts, and he does his best to articulate them clearly and carefully, and I can tell you how much of an asset he has been to me in my I have someone to bounce ideas off now, so it's a great thing. Please welcome my friend and my colleague, Harper Peterson, Senator.
Thank you, Deb. To all the women in the audience, I surrender. If you will lead, I and the other men in this audience will follow. And let me assure you, men in the audience, that we are not a dying breed. We are simply being surpassed by strong, intelligent, relentless women with an agenda, an American agenda. I want to share just a quick moment. Back a few months to 9/11 on the House floor, you know the story, you've seen it. But I walked into a committee room at noon that day, and I wanted to catch up with my representative, my senior representative, I being the junior senator. And I wanted to congratulate her and give her a hug on behalf of everybody in her district, in my county, in my state. And I walked into that room and everybody was standing huddling. You could see their heads exploding. And Deborah was sitting quietly, I think checking her text messages and twit, whatever. The thousands and hundreds of thousands of congratulations coming in. And I had the rare opportunity to give this hero a big hug. Thank you, Deb. I have to admit there's a distraction in our capital today. A disarray of civility and kindness. A swirl of corruption. A corrosion of principle and the rule of law. This is a dangerous assault on our democracy. There's an assault on our access to health care and equal wage, workers' rights, women's reproductive rights, environmental justice. If there was ever a time in our history that we needed a woman president, it is today in 2020. I am hopeful. I hear America singing the iconic tribute by one of our greatest American poets, Walt Whitman, in 1860. He was memorializing the hard-working men and women in our country, the working class, happy and joyful. Today I hear America singing in the joyful toil of all of you, the thousands of women in North Carolina working to better our community and our state. You dames of liberty, right here we have a statue of liberty. My heroines of liberty, embodied in people like Emily Donovans, Dana Sargents, Amy McLean's, Ashley Daniels, fighting for clean drinking water and a safe environment. My heroes, the Katrina Knights, the Jody Waynos, the J.C. Lyles, fighting for housing rights, affordable and clean and safe for every family. The Francine de Courcy's and the Darla McClamorys, the Dale Williams, fighting for our film industry to bring it home and the thousands of jobs we gave away. I hear America singing the likes of Elizabeth Redenbaugh, the Barbara Andersons, the Louise Hicks, the Mebane Boyds, the Tracy Wilkes, and the Judy Gerards, demanding safe schools, professional pay for every teacher, equal educational opportunities for every child, white, black, of all colors, from birth to 12. These are my heroes. And I sing of America and the Amanda Boomersheim and the Eldemira Segovias, trying to make inclusive, engage all immigrants of all nationalities and ethnic groups, welcome them to our country, our great country. This is my America, and I sing. And I sing for Deborah Dix Maxwell, the Jessica Cannons, the Roberta Penns, the Celeste Robertsons, the Catherine Kirbys, the Diana Hills, the Dolores Rhodes, and the Bertha Todds, and the Lonnie Schillings, demanding equality and justice and fighting for those without a voice in our great democracy. And I hear America singing with the likes of Lynn and Debbie Shoemaker, Carol Coffey and Lynn Harris, Ellie Klein, Beth Frankel, changing for change, happy, animated, gloriously, out of tune, but in touch on the corner every Monday at noon. I watched for over a year from my campaign office, and it was an obligation to come out and join them and shake their hands and be proud. And last, I hear America singing in brilliance for our younger leaders. The voices of Summer Marshburn, Catherine Conlon, Diana Williams and Kate Benning, March for Our Lives, the voices in high schools and junior highs, students fighting for gun reform and social sanity, something we have not been able to deliver, and now they have stepped up. And last, I hear the song of America in the wind of Rachel Carson in the 1960s, in the Silent Spring. I hear the voices of Lindsay Lakes and Greta Thunberg's. There's no plan B. There's no next generation. Climate change is now. It is happening in the present tense. And these are our leaders that will save us or watch our doom. I get behind and I follow my leaders that are going to change, to reverse climate change, so that the next generation and next generation can enjoy the great America that we love and we fought for. Equal means equal. A few days ago in Virginia, the 35th state passed the Equal Rights Amendment. We have been waiting since 1977. We could have been there. Deb Butler, Erica Smith, Terry Van Dyne sponsored legislation to make that happen. It hasn't happened yet. Deb and Erica, Terry, we will make it happen in 2020. That is our promise to you, our leaders. If I can amend, and now I will close, but if I can amend anything in our sacred Declaration of Independence, I would add just two simple words to the preamble. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women and on a literary arc here, I'll close with another famous poet with the words, "Get out of the way if you can't lend a hand. The women are marching, for the times they are changing." Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is a person, I don't think I've been to one racial justice, social justice, or equality meeting in the last 10 years that she hasn't either been speaking, organizing, or participating. And I admire that, because stick-to-itiveness is something that requires commitment, and movements don't move without people like our next speaker. And the other thing I like about this speaker is that she makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? She makes me uncomfortable. She's been doing it for 10 years. But when you're talking about racial justice, social equality, the school-to-prison pipeline, these are tough issues. And if you're not uncomfortable about them, you're not paying attention. Please welcome to the stage Black Lives Matter's Representative Sonia Benetone.
To thank Women Organizing for Women for sponsoring this event and for their dedication and activism. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King once had a dream of equality, a dream of unity. However, this dream is far from reality as proven by the Trump administration. Maya Angelou once said, "When people show you who they are, listen." And yes, we are listening, Mr. President, and believing at the moment. That is why the impeachment papers were delivered. No one would exist on the planet without a woman, especially the men. And the human race, based on scientific fact, began in Africa. And in spite of colonization, women leaders in Africa are reverent. It was Winnie Mandela that led the revolution when Nelson Mandela was in prison for 30 years. I'm reminded of the various presidents, and women presidents in countries in the continent of Africa. And it's time for America to catch up. Our ancestors taught us that there should be a balance between male and female. I am a descendant of slave captors, and I'm empowered by the struggle of my ancestors, because if they can survive the worst form of inhumanity, I have no excuse for failure. And giving up is not an option. We've heard of Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, but we also have mothers still grieving here. Brandon Smith, shot 27 times by law enforcement. Trayvon Robinson, Grace Stinks, a white veteran, shot in 2013. No, we won't forget, because we don't want it to happen again, because giving up is not an option. And yes, we want police accountability. We want a Citizens Review Board. We demand police accountability, saving our HBCUs, stop prisoner pipelines, stop mass incarceration, protect our environment, protect women's rights, and protecting our voting rights. It's a constitutional right, not a privilege. Putting the right politicians in office who are concerned about black issues and not only black folks will change this institutionalized system. However, giving up is not an option. In 2009, Brandon Webster, mother grieves the loss of her son who was killed by a state trooper doing a regular traffic stop. And the Attorney General cleared him up of any wrongdoing. However, giving up is not an option. And right here in Wilmington, we want to know what happened to Ebony Spears, because giving up is not an option. And I do believe that everyone here today stands before me want justice. And we ask you to join us after the parade on Monday, the Martin Luther King Parade. Join us at the 1898 Monument to advocate for justice for 5-year-old Palin Fields, a 5-year-old that was assaulted and raped based on autopsy reports years ago, and still no justice. Until there's justice on this planet, there will be no peace. This institutionalized racist system has to change, and giving up is not an option. We've been praying for 2020 since 2016, and losing in November is not an option. Based on the numbers, the women can move this election in 2020, and the future lies on the shoulders of all Americans, because giving up our democracy is not an option. Giving up our women's rights is not an option. Giving up our constitutional right is not an option. In honor of Dr. King, we will peacefully protest for black lives. We will take a knee because our veterans gave their life to protect our constitutional right to protest for what is right. Because giving up is not an option. And I stand before you, the proud daughter of a disabled veteran. We learned that we are stronger together as a nation. A divided house cannot stand. My sisters and brothers from another mother, we must continue to speak truth to power. In 2020, when we cast our ballot, make sure we cast it for the right candidate. For these elected officials make decisions that impact our lives. And when we win in 2020, it will not only be about a party affiliation, it will be a victory for all American people, because losing is not an option. Thank you for listening.
See, I told you she could make you uncomfortable, but I like it. I tell you what, you guys look beautiful. The crowd has grown by about twofold since I got up here, and I see a real big group of young people over here. This makes me very happy. I don't know where you young ladies are from, but I'm glad you're here. Yes, I'm talking to you, and I know you're embarrassed. That's okay. Get used to it, girls. The future is yours. How many teachers do we have in this group? Retired teachers, current teachers? All right, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. So, on 9/11, my Twitter followers went from 1,000 to 24,000 in one day. So that gives me a little bit of a platform from which to speak. So, a couple of days ago, I saw a tweet from the Speaker of the House, Speaker Tim Moore. And he said, "Shame on the governor for preventing our teachers from getting a raise." So, I couldn't resist that. So I did a reply and I said, "Mr. Speaker, that tweet gets 5 Pinocchios." I said, "Do you think 20,000 teachers showed up on the Halifax Mall last year because they were grateful to you? I don't think so. Mr. Speaker, they were there to put you in timeout." So, I will not yield. Anyway. There's another person here who's going to speak to us next who cares as much about public education as all those teachers out there. Please welcome to the stage candidate for Lieutenant Governor, colleague of mine in the North Carolina Senate, Senator Terry Van Dyne.
Good afternoon, Wilmington. Thank you. And I want a special shout out to all the women out there that are willing to run for office, especially my friend Dimple Eschmar, who is running for treasurer. We need more women running for office. Anyway, thank you two for standing up to a president that will lie and cheat and bribe his way to re-election, for standing up to a Republican General Assembly that will destroy education and health care in this state rather than give the governor a win. And we just must stand up. 1.4 million people in North Carolina live below the poverty level. We must stand up. When 500,000 of our brothers and sisters and siblings suffer needlessly because they can't afford to go to the doctor, say it with me, we must stand up. And when billionaire corporate polluters throw toxic chemicals in our drinking water, and the president says it's okay to do offshore drilling off our coast, we must stand up. And when the protections that were promised by Roe v. Wade are constantly under attack, we must stand up. My name is Terry Van Dyne. I am the oldest of 8, the first in my family to go to college, and I am the mother of a son with special needs. I have been a businesswoman. I have worked 20 years with nonprofits in my communities, and I served 2 terms as Democratic whip in the Senate, where I was the top fundraiser when we flipped those 6 seats and gave the governor the power of his veto. Thank you. Now, the current lieutenant governor, you may have heard of him. I'm not going to say his name. He is anti-choice, he is anti-equality, and he sides with corporate polluters every chance he gets. And you know what? He wants to be governor? I don't think so. We already have a good man. Thank you so much for electing Roy Cooper governor. But you know what? To do the job that we elected him to do, Governor Cooper's going to need a lieutenant governor who understands how important this issue is, that understands what we need to get done. And let me tell you something about the Senate, okay? If we could flip just 4 more seats, then the Senate is tied 25-25. And as your lieutenant governor, I will break the tie every single time in favor of a North Carolina that works for all of us. We will pass a governor's budget that makes education job number 1 and respects teachers again. We will pass Medicaid expansion. We will fund DEQ so they can protect our clean air and our clean water. We will get independent redistricting done, and we will protect people's right to vote. And we will make sure that women get to make their own health care decisions. We can do this. I am fighting for you every single day, even when they turn off my microphone, but I need your help. I need you to tell your friends, you know Terry Van Dyne. She's a fighter, and we can trust her to do the right thing. Together, we can do this from the top of the ballot to the bottom. Thank you so much for standing up. Thank you for letting me stand with you. Thank you for who you are and what you stand up for. My name is Terry Van Dyne. Forward together.
Thank you, Senator Van Dyne. How many of y'all have made the observation that every time the president's name is invoked, that flag falls to the ground? Coincidence? I think not. My gracious. Yeah. Friends, the next speaker today is a person that you may or may not have ever heard of before. I think I saw her or met her maybe on social media, maybe 6 or 8 years ago, something like that. And I remember thinking, who is this sensitive, smart, ferocious woman? Please welcome Delthea Simmons. She is a poet extraordinaire.
How y'all are? I know y'all been missing these scarves. I know you've been missing these scarves. I'm going to talk to you today about what it means to be a woman. My first piece, I am a unicorn. When people talk about blacks, they mean black men. When they talk about women, they mean white women. I am a black woman. I am a unicorn. When people talk about working class, they mean white people. When people talk about Christians, they mean fundamentalists. I am working class. I follow a religion of liberation. I am a unicorn. When people say college graduate, they mean young, middle-class white men. When they say feminist, they mean angry, middle-class white women. I am a college graduate. I am a feminist. I am not angry but serious. I am a unicorn. I am a unicorn. I am rarely talked about and even more rarely seen. I have a voice no one knows. I have a joy that seldom shows. Black girl magic is a thing I hold. I can turn the world. I sing and the stars shake. The earth quakes and even gods bow down. I am a unicorn. See me not if you dare. Now this next piece, y'all must really like this because I got a ton of messages me to do this poem. on being women. Being a woman is not a game. It's not about pussy hats, not about cute t-shirts, not about ironic or sarcastic memes. Being a woman is serious. It's not about a one-day strike. It's not about chanting 77 cents. It's not about a few women taking a day's leave from work when most women dare not leave work for a day. Being a woman is hard. It's not about marching once and going home. It's not about selfies with celebrities on the National Mall. It's not about feeling inspired and proud and clapping hands and rocking bodies with arms locked to an old Negro spiritual. Being a woman is continuous. Being a woman is work. It's about working a gauntlet of catcalls and grabbing hands just to make it through a shift at work. It's about secondhand stores and overrun bins and patches on patches for you so your kids can look decent at school. It's pleading with bill collectors and rent collectors and tax collectors for more time because your boss just can't seem to find the money that you are worth. It's being sick and tired of being sick and tired and risking the job you have to organize for the job you need. It's about jobs 2 and 3 that are not for extra money, but I need every damn dime to make it through the week money. It's about working sick, working hurt, running to the car on break to check on your kids because there was no money for childcare this week. It's about running after buses every day. It's about surveillance cameras and locker searches and peeing in a cup. It's about tears and fears and singing dirges and torch songs and every other melody tuned to the blues searching for a deliverance gospel. Being a woman is hard and scarring and scary and serious business. And yet, women rise with every dawn and love on their kids and hug on their lovers and work on their jobs and laugh loud and draw crowds and find hidden joy even in the sorrow and never lose the hope of tomorrow. And we live on. We live on. We live on.
All right, now, if you've read one newspaper in the last year or so, you will recognize the name of this next person. I don't know if there's any tougher job in the world than, number one, running for school board. Because let's face it, mamas will get really ferocious over their children, won't they? So you got to have some a pretty stiff spine to run, first of all, for the school board. So this next person not only ran for the school board, but against pretty heavy odds, won a seat on our school board. And I'll tell you something. When this gal makes up her mind and has an opinion about something, she is not afraid to hang on to it. Now, whether you agree with her all the time or you disagree with her some of the time, you got to admire her tenacity. Please welcome school board member Judy Justice.
Good afternoon, and it's turned into a really beautiful one with all these beautiful people here. The true measure of a society's values is expressed in the way it treats its children. Should I? All right, I'll do that again. The true value of a society is how it treats its children. In America, we are denying our children a safe, productive, and healthy future by not supporting our public schools. We can do better. Instead, our schools are under attack. Unfortunately, that is something that is easy to be done here in this country because historically, women make up the education institutions. They're easy to vilify. It's easier to do that than support them because of the misogyny that is rampant in American culture. Now, to me, the most powerful example of the attack is the systematic destruction of our public education across this country. While our society makes more demands than ever on our schools because of its growing workforce complexity and the social structure change, schools are given less and less to help them meet these growing demands. Funding is repeatedly cut for teacher pay and for the needed resources to educate our students in our public schools. This is happening at all governmental levels. At the national level, we have Betsy DeVos, or Voss, excuse me, I have trouble saying her name. Someone who has never attended a public school and has no background in education. She has cut the Department of Education by $9 billion. She's also cut accountability measures for Title IX, which in this county is sort of important, and the rights for minority students in special education. And the bell's ringing on her. She's also dismantled the civil rights protections for many of our students and promoted the use of guns and public vouchers for private schools. At the state level, we have an assault on our public schools by the North Carolina legislature that started in 2011. I think quite a few people have already mentioned this. Erica did an excellent job earlier describing just some of the many things that's going on with our state legislature. They've tried to remove teachers due to their due process rights being denied by getting rid of tenure. They've done away with graduate degrees, longevity pay. They've cut, altogether it's actually over, since 2011, 8,000 teacher assistant positions in our schools. They've allowed the growth of for-profit charter schools. They have promoted a voucher program that's taken millions of dollars out of our public schools, put into the hands of private schools. It just goes on and on. At the local level, our school leaders have allowed a culture of sexual misconduct and cover-ups to flourish, along with known incidents of racial and sexual discrimination. They have even managed to resegregate our schools. They have denied many of their employees a living wage while they have shown their past priorities with overinflated administrative pay and positions, and also even vanity positions. By allowing this to happen, they have created a negative perception that is filtered down to the hard-working educators in our district. Yes. Why is this happening? Because of the money in education, everyone, and the power of education. All 50 states and local governments here in our county spend more on education than on any other expenditure. $706 billion in 2016. That breaks down to $11,762 per student. No wonder these politicians are so interested in our education budget. One of the main reasons voucher programs and for-profit charter schools are so popular with so many of those politicians in government is because of that profit motive. They are seeing dollar signs, not children. Our students are not widgets, and our teachers are not line workers, okay? Education is a complex process that requires professional training and our society's support if it is to be effective. The other reason that our public education system is under attack, and we're experiencing this right now, is because an uneducated voter in our democracy is easier to control. Young people who receive a strong public education develop into active citizens who can participate and contribute to the democratic process. Keep the public ignorant, and it is easier to control them. Look at the current occupant at the White House and his most active supporters. It's documented that that those supporters, most of them, or quite a few of them, do not have college educations. They still fervently support him, even though in the last couple of weeks alone, he has brought us to the brink of a world war and also been impeached in Congress for his own ongoing violations of the Constitution. Even with his 15,000 lies, they still support him. What can we do to promote and protect our public schools? Well, this is really simple. Actually, we have the power. Teachers and parents have the power. All concerned citizens have the power. And that's going to happen on November the 3rd, 2020. We can vote. In the past, we obviously haven't enough. We need to get people out. Now, every one of you needs to go out and work on this. And as somebody said earlier, we've got people running for office that will support our public schools. research them, vote for them. Here locally, please put them on the school board, on the legislative branch. Please put them in our North Carolina legislature so our schools can return to what our children deserve and our future deserves.
At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome somebody that you've all known probably. She has campaigned for the United States Congress. She is a fierce advocate for our veteran community, and she is now running for the county commission. Please welcome Dr. Kyle Horton.
I'm Dr. Kyle Horton, and I'm proud to be running to be one of your next county commissioners. In the same way we fought in 2018 to save our health care, who's ready to save our hospital? Because make no mistake, NHRMC is not just John Gisdick's hospital. It's not just 3 commissioners' hospital. It is our hospital. Created by a public vote by all of you in the past. And what's happened now? We've got to inject more heart and more democracy into this process. So who's with me? I think those 3 county commissioners need a little defibrillator shot to the heart because they've forgotten that they work for all of us. They've forgotten that a hospital isn't a commodity to be bought and traded and to sell us all out. They've forgotten that this is about life and death health care for people. That's why I think it's more vital than ever that the doctor is in on the county commission in 2020. You know, Martin Luther King said, of all of the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhuman. And isn't that the truth? It's a shock to the core that they care so little about our health care that they would give us over to a private and even potentially a for-profit entity. Give away our care. Because make no mistake, in any given year, 1/4 to 1/3 of Americans in this country forego needed health care or don't fill a prescription that their doctor wrote for them because they can't afford it. And no matter what version of changing ownership that they decide on, whether it's a merger or a consolidation or they sell us out completely, this whole process is about manipulating prices. And what we know across the board is that healthcare costs go up. Could you afford to pay more for your health care for your family? No, we couldn't either. And we have already had some of the highest healthcare costs in Eastern North Carolina for plans through the Affordable Care Act. And it has everything to do with the fact that we also didn't expand Medicaid in this state. Well, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of politicians who put partisan ideology over people's lives. It's time to put people over profit when it comes to our health care. We need to expand Medicaid. That's why we need a lieutenant governor like Terry Van Dyne. It's why we need Senator Harper Peterson back in the Senate. It's why we need to elect representatives like Marsha Morgan and like Adam Erickson who will fight to expand Medicaid. But now, it's shameful. 3 commissioners are doing the same thing. They're putting their own political partisan ideology over people's lives. They're trying to sell out our health care and privatize ABC stores and defund public transit and failing to recognize the needs of affordable housing. I am sick and tired of this undemocratic process at the county commission. We need transparent and accountable leaders who will protect the public health, and I'm committed to being that leader for you in 2020. So who's ready to save our hospitals? No more backroom deals. No more unscheduled votes. No more canceled agenda meetings. Let's put the doctor in on the county commission in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kyle. Now, we have some other candidates. I'm just glancing around. I want to make sure that I don't completely ignore the men who are here. I see Adam Erickson, who is running for House District 20. He is proudly sporting his pink hat. That's a brave man. Thank you, sir. I see former Mayor Don Betts right there under the tree, who was also a candidate for county commissioner. Sorry for pointing at you. He is also a recipient of the longleaf pine. I was proud to deliver to him a few weeks ago. Thank you for your service, Don. Commissioner Barfield, I see here, is running for re-election. Good to see you, J. Bar. Who else am I overlooking that's in the crowd? Who else am I? Stephanie Walker for the school board right there. Rob Zappel is somewhere here, I'm quite confident. Yes. Currently a county commissioner. Thank you for being here, Rob. It's not your turn for re-election, though, is it? Oh, we get to keep you a while. Good. Any other candidates? I did see, oh yeah, Dimple, I'm sure, for treasurer, folks. Infinitely qualified for that post. Thank you for coming and being with us, Dimple. Who could forget a name like Dimple? Isn't that great? Just makes me smile. I do have a dimple here, yeah. Okay. I'm very proud to introduce to you somebody who checks a lot of boxes, as they say. She is young. She is female. She is African American. She is elected already. She serves as chairperson of the Wake County Commission. That's a big job if nobody knows. And she is running for statewide office. She is running to be the Labor Commissioner. Please welcome Jessica Holmes.
I am Jessica Holmes. I am a unicorn that was referenced by our poet. I am also an unapologetic, nasty woman. I'm born and raised in southeastern NC. In fact, in high school, I performed Godspell right here at Thalian Hall. The blood of my grandmother's grandmother flows through this town. I came here to see if I could find my tribe. So if you are a fellow nasty woman, I need you to make some noise. I need you to scream a little bit louder so those on Jones Street can hear you. Make some noise. Now, don't be fooled by the fact that I'm standing on this box. I am very tall. I'm very tall because I stand not on my own 2 feet. I stand on the shoulders of nasty women who came before me. I stand on the shoulders of women like Susan B. Anthony, like Fannie Lou Hamer, like Harriet Tubman. Now let me tell you about Harriet Tubman. She took 13 missions, freed over 70 slaves. And I only have 2 missions for you today. 2 compared to her 13. That first mission is to go to the ballot on March 3rd. That second mission is to go to the ballot in November. Most people are familiar with the Commissioner of Labor office because of the elevators. I can tell you that the position is so much more than elevators, although I look forward to my face in all of them. But again, let me see if I found my tribe. If you believe that we should be paid more than a minimum wage, say yes. If you believe we as women should be paid equally for equal work, say yes. If you believe safe working environments? Say yes. Yes. Then I came to the right place. Yes. One thing I want to make very clear, 100 years ago, women got the right to vote. And it was many more years before that, before women of color had the opportunity to vote. And guess what? We're still having the same conversations about access to the ballot that we were having 100 years ago. But I'm gonna leave you with this message that we're gonna scream loud and proud. When I say forward together, I need you to say, not one step back. Forward together. Not one step back. Forward together. Not one step back. Forward together. Not one step back. Damn right.
I gotta tell you, I am looking forward to seeing her face in the elevator instead of Sherry Berry. Friends, next I'd like to welcome somebody who probably doesn't need much of an introduction. She has been the most generous, supportive member of this community I know. Again, I haven't been anywhere to any event where I didn't see her as a generous donating sponsor. She has helped organizations from Planned Parenthood to Lillian's List to the veterans organizations, just all of them. Do we have any service members here or retired service members, people formerly? Y'all know how hard it is for a woman to become a colonel in the United States Army? Woo. Pretty hard. That's why I'm very proud to introduce to you a candidate who is running for the North Carolina House District 19, retired Colonel Marsha Morgan.
When I was getting ready to make remarks, I told one of the founders of this march of a couple of thoughts I had, what I wanted to talk about. And she said, no, talk about you and why you. And I thought, why me? Oh Lord, why me? Those of you that know me know that I would be much more comfortable out there supporting the people who are up here. But that is no longer a choice. On New Year's Day, like a lot of other people, I slept in a little bit, got to the gym later than usual, ran into some different people. A woman came up to me very timidly and said, "Are you running for office?" Thank you. I made a resolution this year, and she was very timid, her voice was quivering. She said, I'm not working anymore. I don't know what to do. But this year, I am determined to make my voice heard. I'm going to speak up when I see things are wrong. I will make my voice heard. So for her, and for everyone out there, I want to be the voice that people hear, the voice that speaks out for the things that you are concerned about. When I say why me, I can talk about my background a little bit. I'm the youngest of four. My father died when I was 2, so I was raised by a single mother. A mother who had had polio as a child and was partially crippled. I talk about her as being tougher than woodpecker lips because she was. The Army was a piece of cake after growing up in that household. I saw a woman who would not yield, who would not give up because things were difficult. She was determined as a child, just because she had a withered leg and a disability, that she was going to do the same things that everyone else did. And she did. I watched her become an educator. I watched her become a vice principal in the public schools. And I watched her as she dealt with her own feelings as she was raising a large family by herself, yet her male counterpart was receiving more money because he was the head of the household. He had no children. He had a wife that worked. So I watched firsthand the disparity of a woman who did not receive equal pay. I also grew up in the home of a woman who who taught us the importance of a woman's right to choose, of legalized abortion. She had experienced, a young woman had died in her home who had bled out from an illegal abortion. So for all of my life, a woman's right to choose has been paramount. Equality has been paramount. These are some of the things that are just ingrained in me. I can't do anything about it. I can't change that. I spent 25 years in the military, fighting for the rights of everyone, fighting for the rights of each and every person who is here, of each and every citizen, fighting for what is right in this country. Now I see things that are not right. That is not acceptable. My primary opponent posted recently, and subsequently took it down, that I was a 70-plus lesbian retired Army colonel who was a real bitch. Now, bitch isn't quite as bad as badass. But it's, yes, I am a bitch. The soldiers who worked for me, who did not do the right thing, discovered firsthand I am a bitch. There are times I may be a soft-spoken bitch. I may be a sneaky bitch, but I will get you. So one of the things that I want you all to know in terms of my campaign, yeah, wear a red for Ed t-shirt. I am a former teacher before I went into the military, so I have very strong feelings about what public education means. And I believe that public education is at the heart of all the things that we need to do. With a good public education, people can earn a better living. With a good education, people learn science and they understand that climate change is real. With a good education, they learn about government, that there are 3 separate and distinct branches of government. A good education leads to a better life. It has to be a fair education. Our Constitution guarantees that the children of North Carolina will get a good education. It is up to us to make sure that that happens. A good education will let them know that there has to be fairness in all that we do. I promise to be your bitch and do the things that are right.
Who that fella is that called her that, but I don't think I'd have done that. That might come back to haunt him. Have a new slogan. The bitch is back. My gracious. Thank you, Colonel. Do you guys know the Energizer Bunny? Everybody's heard of the Energizer Bunny, and you saw those commercials with that Energizer Bunny that just didn't stop, was in perpetual motion, doing whatever it needed to be done. Well, we have a candidate that I'm going to introduce to you next, who I call the Energizer Bunny. She ran in 2018 for House District 20 and scared the living life out of Holly Grange. That close in a heavily gerrymandered district. Y'all, that is saying something. She did a heck of a job. She won her primary as a newcomer, and then she scared the incumbent to pieces. So
That brought a lot of joy to me, I'll have to tell you. Anyway, her name is Leslie Cohen. Given the complexities of this political landscape, she and her team took a step back to think about her best role moving forward. And she has decided that she is going to run for our county commission. Please welcome Leslie Cohen.
Thank you. So our theme today is Together Women Win. And I want to think about why that is. When I ran in 2018, I had the privilege of running with dozens of women across the state. And with the exception of Marsha Morgan, these were not women that I knew before. And by the way, Marsha, you got this, bitch. But Deb can tell you about some of these women because she's working with a good number of them now in Raleigh. These were some amazing women. And they weren't women that I would have really thought that I had a lot in common with. Some of them were attorneys, some were teachers, some were business owners. A good number of them were quite a bit older than me, and some of them were a good bit younger. But we had one thing in common. We had all had enough. We had had enough of less pay. We had had enough of sexual harassment. We had had enough of working harder and getting less. We had had enough of decisions being made about our lives without being at the table. And when we were at the table, we were tired of not being heard. So each of us decided, when we had had enough of this, that we had to run for office. And when we all ran together, we found ourselves in a sisterhood. And we talked to each other every single day. We were there lifting each other up. We sent each other pictures of piles of dirty laundry and kids eating takeout and stuffing envelopes for the campaign. We ate chocolate at midnight while chatting online. We talked about how to handle a nasty voter. We talked about what not to tell your campaign manager. We talked about what to do when somebody started a sentence with, well, actually. And we were there building each other up. Now, I met a lot of men running for office too, good men and good candidates. And they were envious of this sisterhood because they didn't have those kinds of relationships with each other where they helped each other and built each other up. But as women, that's what we do. And we don't do that because we were born women. We do that because we are women, because we learn to be women. As women, we know how to allow each other to be vulnerable and not see that as weakness and a chance to tear each other down. As women, we nurture and we build teams. And that's why we need more women leaders. That nurturing and team building is what we need to solve the complex problems that we are facing in New Hanover County, in North Carolina, across the United States, and across the world. This is how we are going to solve climate change. This is how we are going to solve racial and sex discrimination. This is how we are going to build an education system that is the best in the world. This is how we are going to build a future for our children. So I need for you to look around, because right now I look out here and I see a street full of leaders. So I I want every single one of you, when you leave here today, to think about, how can I lead? What can I do? You don't have to run for office, but look around. How can you support the women who are running? How can you support your schools? Each and every one of you can be a leader, because together, women win. My name is Leslie Cohen. The primary is March the 3rd. Register and vote. Thank you.
That part about chocolate at midnight, that's true. That's true. How many of you remember HB2? You talk about an embarrassment. You know, that whole debacle was nothing but an attempt to inflame an ultra-conservative voting base. That had nothing to do with reality. And fortunately, North Carolinians came out and rejected that proposition. Now that law has been repealed. It has been repealed in sort of a half-baked manner, but it has been repealed and it will sunset. But here's the point I'm getting to. When you anger a lot of gay people, you have brought the wrath upon your head. I never saw more rainbow flags in my life than I did on Jones Street during that era. It was beautiful. But I want to tell you, the commitment of organizations like Equality North Carolina and SAGE, all advocating for our LGBT friends and family, they have done the yeoman's work. And I am not exaggerating to say that I believe the 2018 midterms and the victory of Governor Cooper before that is a direct result of the advocacy of the gay community. Those folks organized like nobody's business. There were air horns, there were rainbow flags. I mean, it was remarkable. That leads me to the introduction of our next speaker. I mentioned SAGE because they're an organization that advocate for our elderly LGBT community, an oft forgotten group. I'd like to have you please welcome to the stage, and here's an alliteration for you, Janice Jackson Jones.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So, as you heard, I am not running for office, but I'm here to talk a little bit about what we can do to help those that are running get into office and take care of business the way it needs to be taken care of. So I want to just start out a little and give you a little bit more about SAGE, because SAGE Wilmington is a committee and organization right here in Wilmington, and we look out for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in our community in the Cape Fear area. Basically, if you're looking for friends and comfort and a place to go and finding older LGBT people or an avenue to get into the community, SAGE is the place to come. And how do I know that? It's because when I moved here, I didn't know anyone. I got on the internet, thank God for the internet, and I looked up and I found SAGE, and through SAGE, I was able to meet many people. Many of you, I have met many of you, you have seen me around, and all of that happened through the avenues of SAGE Wilmington. We're connected to SAGE USA, who also advocates for lesbian and gay people. So let me get to the point that I want to get to, because I know I only have a few minutes. I too want to talk about our theme, Together Women Win. We have done a lot of work. The House has changed a little. We've elected more women than ever. LGBT people are in office, but there is a lot more work to be done. That's right, a lot more work to be done. And together, we could get it done. Our work will involve all of us. So the key word is together. It requires us to move beyond our comfort zone. So I almost feel like I'm talking to the choir because the applause is amazing here today. But I want to talk to those that are here in the street, those that are on Facebook, those that will listen to this later, that we must get beyond our comfort zone. What do I mean by that? That we can't just say we are for equal rights for everyone, but not show up when it's time to fight for those rights. So though I'm a lesbian, I fight for rights for black people, for women, equal rights, immigration rights, fair housing, education. We can't be pigeonholed into one area because of our identity, our sexual orientation, our socioeconomic status, the county that we live in. We can no longer let that separate us. So in order for women to win together, I'm proposing that we have to get together more. Because I don't want to negate the fact that we have done a lot, but we have to get together more. And so I just want two things that I want to offer to you. Get to know the sisters in your town that you do not know, that are working on issues that you want to work on, that you know about. Get to know them. Go get them. Show up at their meetings, show up at their rallies, and together work on their issues, and in turn, they can work on your issues. And so when there's a rally, the numbers are so loud, our voices are so loud, that it is impossible for us not to be heard. We have to be heard, especially this year. Our voices have to go all the way to the White House because those tenants have to leave. It is time for them to go. And so we need all of us together. Do not let racial, sexual orientation, economic status separate us anymore. Let's step across those lines. Let's come together because we know that the thing together women win, it's not just a cute saying. It's not something that we just came up with. It is true. It is a true statement, and so what we have to do in 2020 to make change is to bring it to reality. Come together as one, regardless. Thank you.
All right, moving along here, moving along. Now, you all are aware, of course, that there have been a spate of anti-women's rights bills across this country. Reproductive health assaults right and left. You're aware, I hope, that in a lot of southern states there has been regressive bill after regressive bill. North Carolina said no. After the 2018 elections, we have what is called a non-veto proof majority. So in 2018, we elected 10 more people to the North Carolina House who said this regressive, anti-woman, anti-abortion stuff stops here. Now, that's pretty remarkable because honestly, we've had at least 2 bills come before us that we were able to defeat. The governor vetoed them, and we were able to hold firm and prevent those bills becoming law. That's no small measure. That is no small measure. And it's thanks to the people like you, along with the very strong advocacy of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood has stood in the breach for generations and defended a woman's right to choose and a woman's right to adequate and affordable health care. So, I would like to please welcome Dr. Yael Gold. She wants to be here with us to speak on behalf of Planned Parenthood. Are you a board member now, Yael? Yeah. You're not? But I bet you have been. I'm sure you've donated at least a couple of dollars to Planned Parenthood. Welcome, Dr. Yael Gold.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Yael Gold. I'm proud to be an active volunteer with Planned Parenthood South Atlantic, and let me start by saying Planned Parenthood is proud to stand with you today. We are proud to march in Wilmington and to be part of the hundreds of sister marches taking place across the nation. It's been 3 years since nearly 5 million people marched across the globe to protect our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, and to recognize that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country. There's no denying that the past year has been a hard one. Last year, the Trump administration forced Planned Parenthood out of Title X, the nation's only federal funding for sexual and reproductive health programming. We saw countless anti-abortion bills and bans on abortion. In 2019 alone, 14 states passed a near total abortion ban. And the first month of 2020 alone, more than 200 members of Congress asked the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Times are tough right now, no doubt. But I'm so encouraged when I remember just how many people showed up for Planned Parenthood. You made calls, you wrote letters, you marched, and you made noise. And with over 75% of the country in support of safe and legal abortion, we have stood firm and we refuse to go back. Now, for anyone who's ever wondered, do my calls matter? Do my letters matter? Does marching work? Hear me when I say a resounding yes. Our elected officials know that a sea of change is coming, and let me tell you, they are scared. We are more connected and more focused than we've ever been before. We've successfully taken back seats in local, state, and federal elections, and we've shut down anti-abortion legislation, and throughout it all, at Planned Parenthood, we have still managed to expand access to care. For these reasons and so many more, we sent the message loud and clear that we won't ever go back. Yes, these are scary times, but we have been down this road before, and we know the way back. For over a century, Planned Parenthood has fought to provide basic health care and to make our society safer and more equitable in every community that we serve. Let me say, no fight has been harder than the one we've waged in North Carolina over the last few years, against politicians intent on rolling back the clock on women's health and rights, and you have fought right alongside us every step of the way. The past year also brought hugely important wins for progressive candidates from Virginia to Louisiana and across the country, signaling the beginning of a change that we must fight hard to maintain, not just in 2018, not just in 2019, but into this crucial election year, 2020 and beyond. We'll take this fight to the streets, to the courts, and to the state houses with the organizing power I see from this very stage. I know we can win the day. Together we call on our legislators in North Carolina and Washington, D.C. to hear us today loud and clear. We are the very people affected by your attacks on the values we hold dear, and we will fight to protect our basic rights to health care and self-determination. Together we call on our friends, family, and allies to continue to speak up and make your voices heard. Not just to your lawmakers, but to call out injustice in our communities and institutions as well. Together we call on our fellow citizens to register to vote and to use their power at the ballot box, where we know we can make real change. And today I'm calling on you to renew your will and to believe in the strength of your convictions so that we will collectively be ready to take this march into the halls of power to stand up for women's health and rights, LGBTQ equality, racial justice, and voting rights. Because we know we are stronger, our voice is louder, and our path to victory more sure when we stand together. Thank you for standing strong. Thank you. Onward and forward together.
Now, there have been a lot of assaults coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Pick one. I mean, the laundry list is ever growing daily. Climate change denial, reproductive health, misogyny, bigotry, offshore drilling. I mean, just pick one. But perhaps no more greater upset than the way we have treated our immigrant community. Right? I mean, we're all from somewhere, right? I mean, not many of our forefathers got here on the Mayflower, maybe a handful, but we're a nation of immigrants. And so the way we have treated immigrants during this administration is abysmal, to say the least. So to discuss that with us, I would like to please welcome to the stage a lawyer, another lawyer, an immigration lawyer. You may know her, you may have seen her. Please welcome Vanessa Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank WOW for inviting me to speak today as requested on my perspective of this theme, Together Women Win. To share my perspective, it is first necessary to introduce who I am. I am some in this administration might call a nasty woman. I am also proudly called by this administration a dirty immigration lawyer. But I am also a single mother. And I'm one of the far too many women here today who has experienced domestic abuse and sexual assault. And I'm also a beneficiary of white, straight, cisgender U.S. citizen privilege. And before I rant about how trash the last 4 years has been for immigration attorneys and advocates, but even more so for the immigrant community themselves, which is undoubtedly why I've been chosen to speak today, I want to address that last part real quick. Dear white women, do better. At my first Women's March in D.C. after inauguration, I wanted to leave feeling hopeful and inspired in the wake of the devastating election, and instead my friends and I, amongst many others in the nation, we left feeling conflicted and somewhat confused. Although historic and positive, being in a sea of predominantly white women smiling in their pussy hats, while aware of the statistics of white women voters that led to 45's victory, followed by many participants' pretentious commentary surrounding the absence of arrests and how peaceful the march was, with no acknowledgement whatsoever of how their privilege played a role in that result, and very so much a slap in the face to those who do not carry that same privilege, that are met with riot cops and handcuffs at demonstrations that the vast majority of those women do not attend. That left many of us concerned. Would this ongoing Women's March be just another display of white feminism? Had it been merely performative? See, we cannot forget how the history of similar women's movements, such as the suffrage movement, have centered and prioritized straight white cis women, often at the expense of their counterparts. And my concern is far too often legitimized as I present in the community on immigration law and policy. And well-meaning white women come to me and they stereotype an entire community of people down to farm workers and landscapers. And they reduce their support of immigrants' rights down to their need for bougie organic vegetables and make economic arguments about physical labor without acknowledging people's humanity. They've cherry-picked the convenient immigrants to champion their arguments. You know, the DACA holder valedictorian with his American dream, rather than the DACA holder dropout classmate with a GED and a weed charge who is just as valuable. They often ask me at the end of my presentations, Vanessa, which after this speech I hope I still get asked to give these presentations, how can we help and support, yet not get into arguments or ruffle feathers at Thanksgiving? I was asked this just last week, to which I responded, we cannot be more fearful of white fragility or our own discomfort or having to check our own privilege and hold others, and yes, that means your family members, accountable. Then we are enraged at the ongoing human rights violations perpetrated by our own government. It is this very attitude that MLK addressed in his Birmingham jail letter, in which he expressed his disappointment for the white moderate. They who are more devoted to order, they who prefer the absence of tension to the presence of justice. We are marching today under the tagline, Together Women Win. And I'm gonna need y'all to know exactly what that means. You see, together means all of us, not just the majority, while other women must wait for what MLK entitled a more convenient season. Women means all women, including but not limited to women of color, trans women, LGBTQIA women, indigenous women, women of all abilities, sex workers, and undocumented and immigrant women. And if you don't understand that part, sis, you can't march with us. Now I will leave you with some immigration law realities to carry forward. After the DREAM Act sat stagnant, introduced to Congress originally in 2001 and then again in 2010, the Obama administration created the DACA program in 2012, under which about 800,000 immigrant youth came out of the shadows, registered, and have paid to do so every 2 years since. They've made investments based upon their status into businesses and their education, usually at an out-of-state tuition rate, like in North Carolina, to have the rug ripped out from underneath them by 45 in 2017. Now, federal injunctions have allowed renewals only, but new applicants that qualify are still blocked, as is emergency humanitarian travel, and the issue sits right now likely for a decision this summer before the Supreme Court. TPS has been canceled by this administration for almost every country that has been designated, affecting hundreds of thousands of immigrants who've been living lawfully within this country and paying to renew, most since when Tupac was still alive. Thankfully, these terminations are also tied up in federal litigation. This administration's talking point and buzzword chain migration is not real, it is propaganda. Anchor babies are a myth and in reality do not exist in immigration law. Your government has single-handedly changed the landscape of asylum law through attorney generals certifying precedential cases to themselves so as to eliminate classes of protected people from obtaining safety in our country. Meanwhile, they have locked up and separated women and children to further deter them from their legal right to attempt to do so. I ask you to care about this, to make noise about this, to educate yourselves about this. And if you're willing to accept some uncomfortable truths along the way, I and I'm sure many of my dirty immigration law colleagues will be happy to continue to accept invites to speak and to teach and to walk alongside you.
You can tell she's a lawyer because she said including but not limited to. And I think I found somebody else that makes me uncomfortable. That's a great thing. Thank you, you dirty immigration lawyer. You're awesome. Okay. You know, I mentioned how you don't want to irritate the gay community because they'll show up with 10,000 people, air horns, and gay flags. I'll tell you who else will do it. The teachers. The teachers. I cannot tell you, folks, I was sitting in my legislative office one afternoon and I looked out on the Halifax Mall and there were 20,000 teachers in red. Now, if you think that isn't a force to be reckoned with, they were out there marching around, they were all in line, they knew how to behave. That was the most organized group. It was like they were waiting for the buses to pick the children up or something. They were like soldiers. But their organization, I think probably the largest teacher organization in North Carolina is NCAE. I don't know if you've heard of them, North Carolina Association of Educators. But they are a force to be reckoned with. Please welcome to this stage Barbara Anderson to speak for the North Carolina Association of Educators.
Well, hello, fellow resistors, or resistors correctly. My name is Barbara Hart Anderson, and I'm recently retired librarian from this school system of New Hanover County. I'm also a member of the National Education Association, which is the largest union in the whole United States of America. I'm here today to talk to you and bring greetings from educators across the state and across this county who are fighting for your children, for the right to a free, public education that is for all children, regardless of their zip code. Now, I had a speech written. I was going to talk about issues in New Hanover County, and let me tell you, Lord, there's a lot of them between equity and zip codes. But after going to the General Assembly on Tuesday, I felt that I needed to really talk about what went on up there. They convened for about 6 hours on Tuesday, only to discuss the budget. Over the last 6 months, the media has focused on pay for items in that budget that are only centered around teacher pay, but that's not what the budget is about. It's about a lot of things, including more tax cuts to your corporations. It's more about not only pay for teachers, but it's pay for all educators. The teacher assistants, the bus drivers, the custodians, the cafeteria workers, all the people that interact with our children on a daily basis. And it's about funding for the needed services for all aspects of public education, like crumbling school buildings, instructional materials, textbooks, paper. And it's about respect for the profession. But it's also about discrimination. If you're a teacher, I want you to stand up, please, and be proud of being a teacher in this state. The Lord knows you need it. Now, those of you that didn't stand up and acknowledge it, thank that teacher, because you wouldn't have your job today if it wasn't for that teacher along the way and that public school system that made you where you are. But let me also tell you something else. That pay raise that they're talking about, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. We're asking for a sustainable pay raise, sustainable funding for public education, and it's for all the educators. Do you know that retired teachers that have been retired haven't received a cost of living raise in over 3 years? But if I don't know about you, but I think my milk and my rent and all's gone up. I can't afford to pay it sometimes. But we asked Governor Cooper to increase positions also for social workers, counselors, librarians. And we also asked for increased Medicaid coverage. A lot of people ask, well, why do teachers do that? Do you know most of our children that are impoverished and marginalized are on Medicaid? That's what covers their mental health services. We have a lot of teachers whose children are on Medicaid. We have teacher assistants and bus drivers on Medicaid. So why wouldn't we be asking for them to have better health coverage? We also asked Governor Cooper to negotiate, which he tried to do for over 6 months, without discussing Medicaid and corporate tax cuts. The General Assembly would have nothing to do with it. So on Tuesday when we rolled up, I sat in the gallery and watched with my own eyes the arrogance and the audacity and the disrespectful demeanor that the Republican majority used to address it. I could not, they had just a sense of, why aren't these teachers taking this raise? I can't believe they would walk away from a gift. Well, if it's a gift, why am I having to pay taxes on it? If it's a gift, why is it only 3.9% over 2 years? You know how much that really is? 1.95% a year. A starting teacher at $35,000 is only going to get $68 and some change a month, which amounts to nothing because that's before taxes. I know teachers that are going to make less after you calculate their insurance premiums, which Falwell is increasing. Their whole purpose for Tuesday was to get the Senate to override the budget because they want that tax decrease for those tax corporations. They even dangled a carrot of a 0.5% increase on top of it if the Democrats would vote to override the budget. And said, oh, well, you can just come back, teachers, and negotiate later on for more pay. So I want to thank Harper Peterson and the rest of the Democratic caucus for having that supermajority, or that at least the majority that we put in to override it, because we felt that that was disrespectful to the teachers and educators to give them a paltry, measly $68 a month at most. 20-year teachers get nothing. Teacher assistants get 0.9% per year, and our retired educators get nothing in that budget. So I ask you, what about those huge tax cuts to corporations that's in that budget? If they can't afford to give us more money, why can't they get rid of them? There would be money then. We would have our educators at salaries that are on the average to match other states instead of leaving North Carolina to go to South Carolina. We would have money for increasing instructional support staff like counselors and social workers. We have one social worker per grade level in our high schools. The average is 1 to 250 students. Some of those counselors have 300 to 500 students. We're not even meeting the needs. We'd have money to pay bus drivers, cafeteria workers $15 an hour so they could have a livable wage. Folks, our educators are struggling, and they're not in it for the income. They're in it for the outcome. So please stand with your teachers. Stand with your educators. Support them emotionally. Don't just support them financially by putting money in their GoFundMe account to buy supplies for their classroom that your taxes should already be paying for. Actually sit down and have a conversation and ask them what they need in their classroom. Important. Ask them how long their teacher assistant is in there a day with them. Is it all day? Half a day? Once an hour? Ask them if they need books. Are they working second and third jobs? Do they have copy paper? You can even ask them if they have toilet paper, because I know when we've run out, we've had to bring our own. You know, educators can't fight this alone. We need you. We need you, the parents, the community, the leadership in the churches, everybody. You need to get involved in your public schools right now and ask those hard questions about what's being funded and how it's being funded and why it's not being funded. Why are they sharing teachers? Because they can't find a teacher to take the place of a teacher that left December 20th because they'd had enough. Or they can't pay their bills, so they're going to go get another job over at PPD, which 3 did in the first week of school. You know, you need to get involved with your schools and support them. And I want to thank WOW and Lynn Shoemaker and her girls for allowing this community to come together, because education is your foundation to your free democracy. If you lose a free public education, you will see democracy fall right behind it. Amen.
Thanks, everybody. You're doing great. Hang in there. I know it's getting cold, but we're on the downhill slope here. We're going to be wrapping this up shortly. We just got a few more dynamic speakers, so hang tough, and then we're going to march. Next, I've got Lynn Heritage, Grandmothers for Peace.
Thank you, Al. Once again doing this year. Thank you, Dad. It's an honor to be here with all of you. Those behind the mic, behind the scene, and all of you who are still out there, thank you for hanging in there with us. It's cold, I know. We all have different reasons for being here, and we each make our own personal decision on why we march. I march for peace, justice, and a better tomorrow for everyone. We're all part of the incoming tide, and as we go about mastering the waves, we just need to understand and respect that each of us must choose our own wave. With all these waves, both big and small, coming together as one, we can become a tsunami. A tsunami of women empowered to set things right in this world. As a grandmother for peace, I believe that what we need to do is to accomplish whatever we accomplish with love and peace. And that does not mean we go around tiptoeing and whispering through life. Right now, we're at a place that might require combat boots. One of the definitions of combat is to take action to reduce, destroy, or prevent something undesirable. Well, there's a lot of undesirable things going on in our country right now. So we need to roar a little louder and make ourselves heard, peacefully. We are smack in the middle of our celebration of the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Thursday night, I attended the YWCA Peace Potluck at the MLK Center. A young woman was the guest speaker, and she talked about his quote, "Tomorrow is now today." We are confronting the fierce urgency of now. And our now says time is up on a variety of things, and I, for one, find that exciting. Time is up on our silence and our denial. Time is up on our belief that someone else will fix what we know to be wrong. Time is up on complacency. We need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do to fuel the fierce urgency of now? Right here in our own community, the desperate needs are all around us. Yet many of the powers that be are turning their heads away and focusing on issues that fill the pockets of the wealthy. They appear to be blind to the urgent needs of low-income families. Many are losing their homes as the fancy new condos, houses, and other buildings are popping up all over the county. Don't even get me started. The list is a mile long. All this is happening throughout the country. Time is up. We need to get these people out of office and elect people who give a damn. Now I say that peacefully. As Deb said so fiercely, "I will not yield," we join her in that cry. We will not yield to those who would destroy the greater good to benefit themselves and their cronies. We will not yield to warmongers, to hatred, to cruelty, to racism, to the dismantling and destruction of our schools, and again, the list goes on. Go out there with your whole heart and share your passion. Do something that feels right for you. Even if you think you can only take baby steps, take those steps. They matter. And now they matter more than ever before. I wanted to show you, most of you saw this piece that was sent out with the list of what we're here about. The ERA, health care, equality, housing, cash bail, environment, education, voting rights, fair pay, immigration, workers' rights, and peace. None of these should be a political issue. It should be common decency. And all the women up here who are running for office know that, and that's what they'll bring. So what I do now is encourage every one of you who feels like you don't have anything to share to find your own light. It's there. And even though you think it may be too small to make a difference, please know that even the smallest light shines in the dark. Go out there and be that light, no matter how small. Be that light that moves us forward together in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, we've talked a lot about criminal justice. Nobody does that better than the NAACP. Please welcome to the stage Roberta Penn, NAACP Criminal Justice Chair.
Hey y'all. Good afternoon. It feels really good to take a look out to see so many friendly faces, women and men I see today. And there are thousands of women across the country, which you've probably been listening to or seeing on Facebook or CNN. There are women across the country, thousands of them coming together. But there are also thousands of women who couldn't come out today. At this moment, there are more than 200,000 women in jails and prisons. I'm here to ask you to lift these women up, the women who are incarcerated. More than half of these women in cages are in cages like the new Hanover County Detention Center. Most of them are there because they can't pay their bail. They haven't been convicted of anything. They're simply awaiting a bond hearing or a trial. They can sit in there for years just because they can't pay the bail. They're incarcerated because they're poor, and a disproportionate number of those women are black. Not only have they not been convicted, these women are at risk of losing their jobs, homes, and sometimes their children. As for the women in prison, the women who have been convicted, most of them have not been given a trial. 95% of all the people who have been convicted of anything are there because of a plea deal. TV shows would have you think that in a plea deal you get a lesser sentence, but that's not always true. Sometimes you're not even guilty. Women who are poor and are often poorly represented by lawyers who don't have the time to adequately defend them. Gung-ho law and order district attorneys, like the ones in New Hanover County, don't have the time for trials, so they offer plea deals. And after 2 years in county jail, where you can only talk to your family through a glass window with wire in it and talk to them on the phone at the same time, and believe me, I've done it. If you got 2 people in there, only one person can hear what the person behind the glass is saying. And I don't know if you've ever really talked to anybody who's been in jail, but the food they get there is all delivered by for-profit food corporations. So it's not the best food you can get. They don't have recreation, and there are few education opportunities there. And after you've been in there for 2 years, the state prison begins to look like a vacation. So these women take plea deals. Their sides of the stories are never heard. We don't really know these women's stories, if they are guilty or not. I ask you to lift these incarcerated women up. Prayers, blessings, and shining all your light on women in cages is a good lift. But what we really need is some heavy lifting. We need to be involved in ending cash bail so women can continue to be with their families and seek good legal representation in courts. We need to advocate for fewer cages and more social services, better avenues to education, and stronger communities. Raising women up from poverty and ending systemic racism means fewer of them will be incarcerated. Fewer families will be disrupted, fewer families will be destroyed. And communities can be fortified by the presence of mothers, daughters, aunts, and sisters. While we organize to vote in 2020 and demand passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, we must also work to end mass incarceration of Black people and the criminalization of poverty. Equal rights for women must be equality for all women. None of us are free unless all of us are free.
One of the biggest scourges of our time is the problem that our children are being afraid in school. They're learning to shelter in place or to fight or flee. Gun reform must happen now, and I believe very strongly that the youth will lead on this issue. How many of you went to a March for Our Lives gathering or anything? They have been so impressive across this country. To that end, let me please welcome to the stage Izzy Stomack with March for Our Lives.
Afternoon, everyone. To begin, I would like to go ahead and take a moment to honor all of the women participating in this event this afternoon. Thank you to my fellow speakers for sharing your voices. Thank you to those who put so much time and effort into organizing this magical event. And thank you to everyone who came out to listen to these awe-inspiring stories and celebrate their womanhood, just proving that together, women truly do win. That being said, today I am here speaking on behalf of March for Our Lives. For those who are unfamiliar with March for Our Lives, it is an organization that was formed following the catastrophic Parkland shooting on February 14, 2018, that killed 17 people, focused on combating gun violence and strengthening gun reform. In the wake of this historic tragedy, our nation felt great tides of urgency to enact change. Since that day, there have been countless rallies, endless legislative proposals, and extensive efforts to provoke significant progression in our society, all in hopes in securing a better and safer future. We have seen the ruinous effects of inaction. We know how destructive it can be, and we as women have the power to prevent that inaction. While all this manages to weave a seemingly complex web of sentiments, with each silken thread proven to be more delicate than the last, we cannot forget the relevancy of gun violence. It is an issue that has swept the nation off its feet and continues to do so with each growing moment. But not only that, and perhaps more importantly, we cannot forget the relevancy of our vote. Only 100 years ago were women legally guaranteed the right to vote under the ratification of the 19th Amendment. That's right, 100 years ago. Which does not include the numerous years spent fighting for that right. It does not include the painstaking hours women lived, breathed, and survived oppression. Nor does it include each cosmic minute we have spent since then resisting injustice and advocating for equality. It's hard to tune out the incessant ticking of a clock when all your history books seem to teach are the success of men. But those ancient pages seem to forget a pivotal part of history. Us. We have suffered from underrepresentation for far too long, but we have the ability to rewrite the narrative in our favor. The ink hasn't dried, which is why I urge you to vote. Exercise the voice that so many women have fought for, the one that we continue to defend. Together, let's fight for a more inclusive future. One that protects individuals from all races, religions, sexualities, socioeconomic backgrounds, and genders equally. We are an unafraid community, motivated by the challenges handed down to us. I firmly believe there is no body of people more powerful, brave, and bold than the people surrounding me today. We are patriots, we are activists, we are voters, we are women, and we are the future. You will find us in your legislation. You will know us in your history books. You will see us in your courtrooms, and you will realize our power at the polls in November. We are inspired by women of the past, empowered by the women of the present, and we are fighting for the women of the future. Thank you.
Well, you can tell the young people, can't you? They don't have on coats. They don't have on coats, and they use electronic devices to read their speeches. Go get a coat on. Where is your mother? Welcoming another youngster to the stage, not quite as young as that one, but you can tell because she's got on fancy hose. Marley Yates is going to give us a little piece of poetic relief.
Hello, my name is Marley Shoemaker Yates. I'm a very proud daughter of Women Organizing Wilmington's President Lynn Shoemaker. A president that I can actually be proud of, which is pretty cool. I've watched her from day one, give her time and dedication to making my world a safer and more accepting, educated place, and teaching me how to be a strong, powerful woman, and if anyone knows her at all, to never get in her way. She fights and fights for women all over the world, tirelessly, legitimately, never says no to helping. And if I can be a percentage of the woman that she is, I'll be just fine. Deb Shoemaker, my aunt, has been Mom's partner in justice with her in the good fight and welcomes everyone with open arms and kindness. Character traits natural of us women, but expanded and volumized by her passion for goodwill and genuine love. She created those paper-mache political heads. She had some assistance, but over here to the left. And both of them are on the corner on Mondays. My stepdad, Sandy Yon's on the corner on Mondays. They never miss it. It amazes me. I just wanted to read an excerpt by the feminist poet Rupi Kaur, just to kind of bring some warm hugs through some words for you. I like the way the stretch marks on my thighs look human, and that we're so soft, yet rough and jungle wild when we need to be. I love that about us. How capable we are of feeling, how unafraid we are of breaking, and tend to our wounds with grace. Just being a woman, calling myself a woman, makes me utterly whole and complete. At 25 years old, it's been a journey through personal experiences with my own mental and reproductive health and sexual harassment and assault to learn what it really means to be a woman. The ridiculous challenges that are inappropriately placed in front of us, and how important our voices and how important our voices are and how loud they can be. I think I speak for all of us in giving a special thank you to Planned Parenthood for standing with me, and I will always stand with you. Thank you to my friend, or should I say family, Representative Deb Butler, for being such a badass and fighting to get our rights protected and injustices solved. We will not yield. Thank you to Senator Harper Peterson for being a male figure in my life since I was born, caring enough to evoke change and standing up for women in Wilmington and all over North Carolina. Yes. I hope that 2020 is a year that brings groundbreaking change and historical improvements for gender equality and acknowledging trans rights as purely human rights on a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. And perhaps Twitter will block that damn orange man and give us all a break. Marsha Morgan, I'm proud to be a bitch right next to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marley. You all are aware that Virginia just passed the Equal Rights Amendment, right? Damn it, I wanted it to be North Carolina. No, they beat us, but that's okay. I'll be envious for one moment and then congratulate them because that is progress. Yes, look at them. There they go. Good for you guys. To that end, let me welcome Susan Long with the North Carolina National Organization for Women.
Old school, I got the sheet of paper. But when I was walking up the street, I was so excited. I say, I hear the cry of my people, and I thank you for being here today. This is a historic time for equality. Ooh, that thing right in my face. This is a moment that you're never going to forget. This will be a day that you can tell your children and grandchildren about when they ask, what did you do about equality? Did you stand on the right side of history? Did you make a difference? On Wednesday, January 15th, 2020, at 1:10 p.m., the Virginia House of Delegates voted 59 to 41 to pass Resolution 1, ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. Give them a hand. Shortly thereafter, the state Senate passed Joint Resolution 1, voting 28 to 12, and Virginia became the 38th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. We reached our magic number. Virginia has shown us what happens when women hold positions of power in our governments. As Delegate Jennifer Foy so eloquently said, it is time for Virginia to be on the right side of history and vote for equal rights. And it's time for North Carolina citizens to ask their General Assembly, what side of history does this state want to be on? The ERA North Carolina Alliance asks all of you to reach out to your representatives and senators and ask, will North Carolina wait 50 years before ratifying the ERA as it did in 1971 when it finally ratified the 19th Amendment? Well, a little bit slow. Will North Carolina be on the right side of history? The world is watching, your mothers, your sisters, your daughters are watching. As a Virginia delegate said, there is only one way to spell equality, and that is simply E-R-A. The battle isn't over. There's more work to be done to ensure that the ratification of the amendment is enshrined in our Constitution. At this point, there are several things that can happen, and so you need to be watching for this in the news. Those that oppose the amendment will continue to file lawsuits. The ERA could end up in the Supreme Court. Many feel the time limit that has expired in the early 80s has rendered the amendment as moot. Pro-ER advocates, that's us, will continue to process lawsuits directing the archivist to accept the ratifications as the deadline was only in the preamble and is questionable as to valid at all. There are bills in the U.S. House and U.S. Senate that are trying to eliminate the timeline. Those bills could remove the deadline question altogether. So you've got a homework assignment. I was a former teacher, so I'm giving you some homework. You've got to get on the phone. You've got to write letters. You've got to talk to your U.S. senators and congressmen in your state. Hello, state. And get the ERA out on the floor, get it out on the vote, and let North Carolina pass the ERA now. Time is up. Thank you. Now, I got one other thing to do before I leave. I'm kind of quick on this stuff. As I told you, I heard the cry of my people, and I saw one of my favorite signs. And I can't think right now. My brain went dead. Woo! The cry of my people. Anyway, thank you very much.
She remembered it as soon as she got off the dais. It was, this is what democracy looks like. Democracy looks like. All right, good news. One more speaker, and then we walk around the corner. But we are going to end on a very important issue. How many people feel their hearts sink when they see the images of the fires in Australia? It is the most heartbreaking. It looks to me like what I envision hell to be. And so, I'd like to welcome to the stage to discuss with you how people need to get involved with climate change advocacy. Please welcome Noelle Joy Powers of 350 Wilmington.
My name, as Deb mentioned, is Noelle Powers, and I am very proud to say that I am a co-director of 350 Wilmington, a local climate justice group here in town. My fellow co-director, Lindsay, and we started this chapter of 350.org in Wilmington a little over a year ago. and I cannot tell you what a tremendous and exciting undertaking it has been for both of us. Neither of us, having been climate activists before, were both deeply moved by Bill McKibben, the co-founder of 350.org, who encouraged us at a talk at UNCW to simply do what we can do. Use whatever resources we have at hand to educate ourselves and others, encouraging them to feel empowered to take action. Together, women win. And I tell you, being able to do this heavy work alongside another woman who is brave and kind and wise, who lifts me up when I need lifting, accepts my critique and encouragement and sometimes overwhelming energy with such grace, has been a life-changing experience. And being in front of you all this afternoon, taking in this incredible scene of celebration of women coming together to embrace our passions, our beliefs, and all of our different perspectives. I mean, we basically already won, am I right? Yeah. Definitely have. Unfortunately, our world has a bit of a hard time accepting the reality that we're facing. And no wonder, it's a hard reality. It's a sad one. But if anyone is capable of facing it, cultivating hope and joy, and deciding to put up a fight, it's women. We will use what we have always used in the face of seemingly impossible odds. Our voices, our bodies, and our connection to, let's face it, the most important lady of us all, Mother Earth. Hello. As countless women have made clear to us throughout history, life is always worth fighting for. And I'm happy to say that I am on the active end of that fight, as so many of us are. And to anyone that wants to join in, talk to the women around you. Find the organizations that interest you or speak to you and connect. Ask questions. Decide today, together, once and for all, among all of these wonderful people, to take that next step. It is immeasurably worth it to do so. Thank you so much to Women Organizing for Wilmington for doing just that and being such a bright and shining example of what it means to commit to this work. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of 350 Wilmington and something that I care so much about, and that is all of you people out here. Together, women win. I say we use the momentum of today to renew our strength, focus our vision, and see what else we can do. Let's go!
Thank you, Noelle. Thank you to everybody who came out here. It's cold, it's windy, but together, women will lead. 2020 will be the year when women lead us to victory. I feel that in my bones, right, ELA? Thank you for being here. We are now going to march from here around the corner up to Fox's Boxes. For anyone who cannot walk, the trolley is there. A big thank you to Cape Fear Transportation and that guy right there, Michael Faulkner, for showing up every time he's asked to help. Thank you, Michael Faulkner.